Garrett Leo Augustyn is on today. He's a Chicago-based artist who graduated from the School of Fine Art, the Fine Art Institute, with a bachelor's degree in fine art with an emphasis in art education back in 2017. Doing a lot of amazing stuff. You're currently an educator in the public school system, and you also are the creative art director for Creative Vets.
Correct?
Yep,
creative.
Awesome,
Yep.
awesome. But let's start from the very beginning, at least for me. Tell me just a little bit about yourself, a little about your past, and then we'll kind of go from there.
And at the time, I was in the Chicago Police and Firefighter Training Academy. So I was prepping to be a paramedic. Like that's what my career choice was when I was in high school. And when I graduated from high school, I actually graduated with a paramedic's license. So I worked as a paramedic when I graduated immediately. But then like my parents were like, "Oh, you're going to be a paramedic. You're going to be a firefighter." I was like, yeah. And then my teachers were like, "You should think about going to art school." So like my career shifted very fast.
Yeah.
I have that huge title of a degree, the Bachelor's of Fine Arts with emphasis in art education,
Yes.
the BFAE. But that kind of became, I wanted to go to the best of the best. So I thought the School of the Art Institute would have been the place to go. And I applied and got in, and I told my parents, I was like, "It's okay. I'm going to be an artist, but I can teach. So I'll be a teacher.
Yeah.
And I'll have a job and a salary, and it'll be fine."
Yeah.
So they were hesitant about it for a minute. But that choice has kind of led me in a lot of directions. But yeah, I always bring it up, but I worked as a paramedic for like 4 years after graduating. So while I was going to art school, I was also working as a paramedic for a private ambulance company.
That's awesome.
Which inspired a lot of my early art. And now, I mean, it's all connected.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a little bit about me. And then right now I live, like I said, I still live in Chicago, traveling a little bit for business with Creative Ed. So I'm sure I'll give you a spiel about that in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm a talker, so I could just like talk for an entire 2 hours, and you'd just be like, "Yeah, all right, sounds good," and I'll just keep going.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
Find a good balance. Yeah, I live in Pilsen now, so that's a neighborhood in Chicago, and I've lived here for the past 2-3 years, I think, and it's been great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
for
so
sure.
let me get this straight. Now, there's two different things I want to talk to you about, and I don't want to get ahead of myself. Hopefully you're okay with answering this one because it might be out of order in your current body of work. But I was looking through your work, I was looking through your Instagram, looked on your personal page, everything else, and I wanted to talk to you about grit culture. So what I pulled, that's one of my favorites when I started looking at it, grit culture, the romanticization of an aesthetically pleasing culture with the intent to disorder the historic reality. There's a lot more that goes into that, and I think you talk about it beautifully, but I don't want to interject my thoughts. I
wanted to provoke conversation. And in the world we live in now, it's important that we have dialogue, we have conversations about differing opinions, about anything that's going on in this country or around the world. So I started looking at things that were directly related to me. So I started thinking about, why do I make art as an American, as someone who lives in Chicago? And I started looking at, all the contradictions of being an American and all the problematic issues that you have with being an American. And a lot of these things had come up when I was in art school because my work, the way I sculpted, like I said, initially was I just like made things because I thought they were cool. And then I started thinking more and more about, why I make art. And I started thinking about, what it means to be an American, what my view of, how can I use my voice as an artist to criticize and talk about American history, American culture. So like, I made these figures about coal miners because my family, on my mom's side, I'm really close with my mom's side of the family, and they all came from West Virginia. So my current family members now, and then in my family's just heritage, worked in coal mines. So I wanted to bring the aspect of talking about, blue collar workers and specifically the coal mining industry and bring it to like a gallery setting so that different people view it and talk about it. So I made these huge figures that pretty much dominate the space around them just because they're extremely large and just like, they're intimidating. I mean, they're just very heavy pieces of clay. They're like 400 pounds. So I started thinking about Again, why am I making art, and what am I making art about, and what do I want to say with my art? And a lot of the things that I was kind of digesting and trying to think about in art school was what it was to be an American. So for me, being born and raised here from Chicago, and just like looking back at like the history of my family and what they've done traditionally for jobs, I was the first person on my mom's side in my family to go to a 4-year university and go for a degree. So that was like a big feat. And then we've had artists in my family, but no one really wanted to go and make that a career. So I was the first one to go into a creative field and, do that for a living.
In my mind.
So yeah, and that's what I want that series of work to be, because it's like I want to bring to light like all the problematic parts of being an American and all the problematic parts of just like our society today, and talking about it. And there's just like the way that the drawings work is just like, as you read them, whether you are, like I said, whether you are on the left side of the spectrum or right for just political views here in the US, you can use those phrases to start an argument or to like back an argument. But it's like, we're still trying to talk about like one culture, and like everyone twists it, and everyone like the word I chose was romanticizes it, because we are choosing to like, wow, this is so great. Like, this is when it was great. This is what, this was so beautiful. And then it's like, okay, but now look critically at what you're referring to and look at all of it, not just one part of it, not just the things that are nice, not just the things that are, appealing to it, but look at all of it as a whole. Right. And there's all these issues that have come up time and time again. And it's like I said, I can't refer to other cultures, other countries. But I've looked at it in mine because, like I said, I grew up in Chicago and I was taught American history. And as we've continued to grow as a country, I feel like we've been doing better about reflecting and like looking critically at things. And that's what that body of work is supposed to do. Is it's supposed to bring to light all these, just like, you look at it and you're like, yeah, that like makes a lot of sense, because you like, yeah, just like are romanticizing something that never was that way, because you're not looking at it as a whole. And that's what I want that to be, is just how cynical those figures are, right? And it was important that all of them were like laughing, because it was very intimidating to look at, right? I wanted them to have like a position of power, but then they were being filtered by, red, white, and blue, and how symbolic that is for our country, and then having it be black and white and no gray, right? So it's, again, talking about how whatever we're talking about, it's either one way or another, and that I think kind of ties in with just like political parties on how it's either you're the Republican or Democrat, right or left. And it's just like, there's hard to find that middle ground. And that's just like part of American culture that I think is still existent and has been for a while. It's just like that white,
There's no in between. And I like the idea of looking at this historical image at a distance, and at a distance it looks beautiful, and at a distance it looks great. And I feel like when I'm looking at your work, great culture is like, let's put a magnifying glass to this, bring it in more focus, and we really see the true nature of how American society really understand it, right? But I think you bring it justice. You start with your organization. You've been working with them for years. Now the goal of the organization, to me, sounds like you're having a veteran come into this program and you're giving them additional skills or maybe brand new skills in the program. But not only that, you're helping them deal with a lot of internal potential issues or struggles that they might have, or things they want to express. Is that correct, or am I a little off?
Yeah. We're not an official art therapy program, so there's no actual art therapy at this time. That's something that we're working towards. So our approach is to provide veterans with the opportunities of learning new skill sets and tools that they can use to further their healing. So a lot of our participants after program have gone back to school or gone to art school, or have just started making art to explore things that they've experienced during their time of service. For just like
awesome. That's great.
Just the logistics of the program, they do a one-on-one interview with with a veteran. So this year it's with Zachary Burgart, who's my co-teacher here in Chicago. He does a one-on-one. We just, it's all about talking about experiences, talking about things that you want to kind of digest and start working with in a creative field. And it could be in any medium. So a lot of it is storytelling. And that's something that we highlight in our songs, is just like, how do you tell a story? And with art, something that we always push is, you could tell a story to an audience and not have to say a word, because you can make it in a piece and then you can have that be somewhere else that's not just stuck inside of you. So we provide, like I said, like skill sets and the experience to kind of find a new way to say things without having to open your mouth to anyone. You can just kind of get it on paper, get it in clay, and then get it out there.
It was great seeing that on your video, or on the video, sorry, not your video, seeing on the organization's video, watching other veterans talking about how they can express themselves in different manners with different mediums. I think that was awesome to hear about, because let me rephrase that, veterans like myself and other people rarely come across programs that are designed to help individuals cope with different points in their life of high tension, stress, PTSD, whatever the case may be, or however they want to define it. There's so few programs that do that when it concerns to the arts. And I think you guys are doing an amazing job.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal to see everything going on. And not to say, hey, that's not important stuff. That's not anything that we really need to worry about. It seems like you guys are like, this is what we want to do, and this is how we're doing it. You're not just saying, we should do this thing. You're going along and creating this awesome program.
Sweet.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, dude.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.